Okay, all set. Another minute to go. We'll start with the Mangalacharana until people join. I'll share my screen. Where did it go? Okay, so Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back. Today is our 5th day. So before we begin, we will do the Mangalacharana. Okay, I have put it up on the screen, so all of you can also recite. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjalashalakaya Chakshurum Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Aham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tamasajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna. So we will jump into our session. Today is the 5th chapter, and this is called the Karma Yoga. And who else is a better Karma Yogi for us in recent times that we know of other than Srila Prabhupada? So our humble obeisances and respects to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna. So before I jump into Karma Yoga, action and Krishna consciousness, this is the title of chapter 5. And now you may wonder, on and off, we are talking a lot about karma, and we talk about jiva, and then we talk about, the Paramatma, the Ishvara. So, and you need to know the Bhagavad Gita deals with 5 subjects. The subjects that the Bhagavad Gita deals with is Ishvara. Ishvara is the supreme controller, maintainer, and the creator, who is the Sarva Maheshwaram, Sri Lord Krishna, okay, who came on this planet, Earth planet, 5,100 years ago. He is the Ishvara. So all the chapters will deal with this subject of Ishvara. Then we also will talk a lot about the Jiva, because it's all about how the Jivatma, what is it that the Jivatma needs to do, so that finally, we can all find our way towards liberation. So there is a lot that's going to be spoken, or continuously everything is for the liberation or the moksha of the Jivatma. Then we're also going to be talking about, as you have seen in all the last 4 chapters, and again in this chapter and in the continuing chapters, we'll also talk a lot about our karma. Karma is activities, the activities that we all have to do. And you have gained a fairly good knowledge of what kind of activities that we have spoken about so far. Then it also deals with Kala. Kala is time. Everything is time bound. Kala, Karma, Jiva, Ishvara. And finally, Prakriti. The Jivatma constantly interacts with Prakriti, and interacting with Prakriti is how it exhibits various forms of behaviors depending on the vasanas that the Jivatma carries from the previous birth, and as well as its activities are all dependent on its vasanas, and as well as as it gets influenced by the Prakriti that it's engaged with. Okay. And the Prakriti has three gunas, which is what makes the Jivatma sway under the influence of the modes of the nature that is there in the Prakriti, which is the state of goodness, the state of Rajasic guna, or the state of passion, the state of ignorance, or the Tamasic guna. So constantly we'll be using these 5 terms. So I just thought you need to know, because we spoke about karma in the previous 2 chapters as well. And again, this chapter delves deeper into karma and gives you more understanding on this subject of karma. And of course, it's all deals with Ishvara and Paramatma. Okay. And Kala is an important aspect as well, as I have said before, that our time, we are, and our time, that we have on hand is finite. Okay, so now I think before I jump into the details of this chapter, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Okay, so this time I'm not going to ask you for a summary. I'll ask you some questions. So let me see if you are able to answer something from the previous chapter we discussed yesterday. So what did the Lord say about this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita? First spoken to? Who remembers?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Rajpriya Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Lord Krishna, at first on earth, he explained to Arjuna, he was the first listener of Bhagavad Gita. Yes. But Gita came on earth 2 million years ago. But when we will look backward, that is, Lord Krishna told this to the Vivashvan, and then to Brahma. And 7th Manu, Brahma to the 7th Manu means father of mankind. And he explained it to Ishkvaku, elder son of Manu.
Yes.
And so on.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was really, really nice. Why does Krishna appear on this earth? Why does Lord Krishna appear on this earth?
To establish dharma.
Very good. And to support and protect the pious people. Right? Yeah, all his devotees. Yes. And then what are the 4 varnas that the Lord created? What are the 4 varnas?
The 4 varnas were Mataji, that caste system that Lord Krishna created based on guna and karma.
It's not caste. It is based on your abilities and capacities and your guna.
My mistake, Mataji.
No mistake, no problem. So what is it? What are the 4 varnas?
Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, and Sudras.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. So what is the quality that one needs to have to learn these scriptures or to read these scriptures? What is the quality? What is the quality that you need to have to learn the scriptures?
One should be Sthita Prajna.
Sthita Prajna. Okay, great. What else? You need to be humble. You need to have faith. You need to have Radha, Nishtha, and Dridhata. Okay, excellent. Okay. Yeah, okay, so that's good enough. Thank you so much. So you've been listening well and you've been absorbing the things quite pretty well. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. So the overview of chapter 5 will be like this. Now, before that, okay, I'll just give you this and I'll take you to the last verse of the 4th chapter as well. So Arjuna asks the Lord, which is better, sannyasa or karma? What he means is, should I renounce action or should I work in action? Should I work or should I give up work? Is participating in action better or renouncing action better? So this question is again coming up. I will show you why he is asking this question based on the last verse of the 4th chapter. We'll go and read that once more so that we can understand the perspective that Arjuna comes with. Because time and again, Arjuna keeps asking this. Each time he asks this question, it's with a different perspective. Okay, the perspective that he gets based on what Lord has discussed with him. So then 5.2 to 5.6, the Lord is going to tell us that the karma yoga is easier than sannyasa, and he's going to attribute reasons for it, and we shall look at those reasons. And in 5.7 to 5.16, he says nishkama karma is the only thing that will free you from bondages or from entanglements from material world. And then the last verses, how is it that you can get liberated on various fronts, whether it's jnana or your karma or anything else, attaining your moksha by focusing on the Lord. Okay. So before this, I want to take you to the Veda base and show you the last verse of the 4th chapter. Okay. So let me go back. Let me go to Bhagavad Gita as it is, because yesterday, and therefore I want us to read it together. Okay, this is the last words. Can somebody read this translation, please? Yeah, read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, read the translation.
Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight.
Right. So the Lord here tells him that, look, now that you have got the knowledge and your ignorance has been slashed or cut by the knowledge that you have, so now armed with this yoga, what yoga of what? Yoga of jnana. Then with the jnana yoga, now that you have heard all about the jnana yoga, please go and fight. So now you understand the point from where Arjuna is coming on this question of sannyasa or karma. He's a little confused again. He says, if I've already got this jnana, why should I unnecessarily again engage in a warfare? What is the need for it? Can I not straight away take sannyasa? Because I have got the jnana. So with the jnana, I'll take sannyasa. So he's saying, I'll renounce work. So that's a question that he's asking. Should I renounce work? Is renouncing work better? Or participating in work better? Okay, did you understand the connection between the previous chapter and the question of Arjuna in the beginning of this chapter? Is it clear?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, great. See, always you need to remember all the chapters are interconnected, and the interconnect you can easily read from the last verse of the previous chapter, and the first verse will give you the connection as to how the chapter is flowing into the next. Okay. Okay. Now Arjuna's confusion. Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmana Krishna punaryogam cha shamsasi yashreyah yat yorekam tanme bruhi sunikshitam. Can someone read this translation for me? Hare Krishna. Yeah, please read the translation. Anybody?
Arjuna said, O Kanhaiya, first of all, you asked me to renounce work. And then again, you recommended work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?
Absolutely. So he's asking, should I renounce work or should I participate in work? Right? That's a normal question that will come to people as well. Right? So that's why our scriptures are so, they kind of take you so gently towards each of the subject matter, that that they leave no scope for any kind of a doubt in anybody's mind. Okay. Now, in the previous chapter, Prabhupada has said, that religion and philosophy are two sides of the same coin. He says religion means faith. Please understand, religion is not the isms that we're talking about. It's not Hinduism and that and this. Religion is faith. Faith in what? Faith in that God conscious. And who's the God conscious for us? It is Lord Krishna. Okay. So religion and philosophy, they are the two sides of the same coin. Now, if you have faith and there's no philosophy, Prabhupada says then it's just emotional. So you work at a very mental, at a mental, emotional level, which doesn't lead to good results. At the same time, if you only, you dwell on philosophy and neglect the faith part of it, that is, faith is what devotion is all about. Faith brings in devotion. If you dwell on philosophy and neglect the devotional aspect, he says it becomes mental speculation, because you're only reading and growing your jnana, and just jnana alone will not help unless faith and jnana go hand in hand. Bhakti and jnana have to go hand in hand. And for bhakti to happen, it can only happen by way of participating in work or karma yoga. Okay. So now this is the question of Arjuna. So let's understand from where does Arjuna's misunderstanding come from? In the second chapter, the Lord spoke a lot about, from 11 to 30, he only spoke about the soul. Soul was all about jnana. Okay. Then he spoke about prescribed duty. He said each of us have to do our duties. 31 to 37. He said all of us have our duties. Our duties are swadharma. Each one has to do his duty. That is your swadharma. And then he also said that at the material level, it is your material duties. At the spiritual level, it becomes spiritual duties. Okay. So now, with the jnana, Arjuna thinks he's already, he's got onto the spiritual platform. And then the Lord also goes on to explain that the activities, anything that we do with a desire, in it, with an object of desire, it's called fruitive activities. And all the fruitive activities, anything where we have an expectation. What do you mean by fruitive activities? Fruitive activities mean any activity that I do and I have an expectation from that activity, that becomes fruitive activity. That becomes an activity with an expectation. And whenever there is an expectation, the expectation may become fruitive or it may not become fruitive. So depending on either of the cases, it leads to bondage. And 46 to 43 of chapter 2, he spoke about how can one really wean away from these kind of material activities or from the results that we strongly have towards the work that we do by devotional service of bhakti, because of all that was all about bhakti. The first was jnana section. The second, he spoke about karma. Then he spoke about bhakti. And finally, in the third chapter, the Lord also spoke about that there is no duty for a person in knowledge. What does that mean? That means the self-realized soul, while the self-realized soul does not have to work, yet they have to work because they need to follow the prescribed duties of the group, that is the varna that they belong to, A, and B, they also need to set an example, like the way he gave the example of Janaka, and he also gave his own example. Do you recall all this? You recall all this, right? Hare Krishna? All of you recall
Yes,
this?
Mataji.
Okay. Now in the fourth verse, in the last verse of the fourth chapter, you saw what the Lord said. Now that I've given you the jnana, and now that you've been equipped with the jnana that is required, so slash the ignorance that is there in your mind, go and fight. Okay? Okay. So now, can you tell me which is better, karma sannyasa or karma yoga? On the left hand side is the karma sannyasa, and the right hand side is a karma yoga. Who do you think is better, a karma sannyasi or a karma yoga or a karma yogi?
Mataji, I believe karma yogi is better than karma sannyasi.
Okay, super. Anyone else? Anyone wants to explain this? Why you would think a karma yogi would be better than a karma sannyasi?
Yes, Mataji, because Mataji, karma sannyasi lives a life more of material than spiritual. But karma yoga is what you said, that religion and philosophy are two sides of coin.
Yeah.
So with karma yogi, the thing is that the yogi practices both of the things. That is why it is much better than karma sannyas.
Super, excellent. And what also happens in a karma sannyasa state is that, if they're not completely weaned away from all their desire, from all their material desires and anxieties, they are bound to not get the result that they expect to get, or they set out to get for themselves by following that path. Okay. So anyway, let's see what the Bhagavan says. So the Bhagavan says, I will read it. Okay. Sannyasam karma yogaksha nihashreyasa karau ubhau tayostu karma sannyasat karma yoga vishishyate. Somebody wants to read the translation?
The personality of Godhead replied,
yeah,
the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work.
Exactly. So the Lord says, instead of renunciating your work, working in devotion, or doing your job and being in devotion is what is good for liberation, because that helps the person to stay steadfast on not only doing the swadharma that the person is supposed to do, but also engage in activities for the Lord in different varieties of the way. Because when you are engaged in your work and you kind of fulfill all the obligations and the duties that you have to do, you have that, that element of satisfaction in you, that you are able to do what you're set out to do as part of your prescribed duties. And while you kind of engage in your prescribed duty, you can also do a lot of things for your devotion, in terms of not only just being devoted yourselves, but you can also help others follow your path, because that's what the Lord said in the previous chapters, that do not disturb people who do not have faith, but seeing you doing things and seeing you in a state of balance, others will automatically follow. So you actually set an example, by your exemplary behavior, you will be a leader of sorts. Automatically, you will be able to change the lives of all those people that come in contact with you. Okay? That is the purpose of why he says, working in devotional, work with devotion, or work in devotion is better for liberation than renunciation of work. Although renunciation of work will also lead to liberation, but renunciation of work many a times causes failure if the mind, intellect, and the sense organs are not completely cut off from the material desires. Okay. Because remember, he also said some people may take up an early sannyasa without having really understood what the real character is, and invariably after a period of time they fall down. Now I know of a very I don't want to take the name because we are going live, but there was a young boy who was pushed into sannyasa by his father. And he was barely 16 years old or something, or maybe younger than that. And he was again trained by all the people in the matha to become a first class sannyasi. But somehow this boy had a lot of other desires. He had desires in fine arts, and he somehow felt that he was being subdued, and he was repressing all his desires. And ultimately, I think after the age of 40 or something, he could take it no longer. He came out of the matha. He said, I just cannot, I'm not at peace with myself. If I'm not at peace with myself, the work that I do is not going to be good. And I don't want to live I don't want to live a life with a mask. He said, I have to just get out. And he just fought with the system, and he came out of the system. He got into a grihasthashram. He got married. He has children. So that kind of a thing should not be done unless we know that we are ready for it, we should not take a plunge into it. Because of late, it is seen many people like the whole idea of sannyasa and things like that, and they don't know what it entails. What it entails is that it entails a lot of discipline, and also they need to have good character. Character becomes a very important ingredient for someone who's a sannyasi or someone who has renounced his life, because they are looked up to by the society for a lot of guidance. And invariably, if they're not ready for it, the guidance that comes out of them will soon be seen through. Okay, you can easily make out who is really a guru, who is really a spiritual master, and who is not. Today, we have far too many number of people, okay, in that realm. And some of them are doing very, very well. And it's really a sad state of affairs, but we have to be careful. That's why the Lord says, you have to strengthen your intellect. There's so much in these scriptures. There are such large institutions that we have, such as ISKCON and other institutions, which do not compel you to giving up what you want to do, but it always encourages you to kind of excel in whatever you do, but with faith and devotion and love for Krishna. Okay. We have been talking a lot about dharma. By now, I think you would have understood at least a few terms would be there in your mind. So what are the six? There are 6 kinds of dharma. What are the 6? Even if you don't know 6, at least you know some of them. Can you tell me the various the definitions of, or the various types of dharma that we have spoken of so far? Just if you can recall. Hare Krishna. Just try. At least 2 you should talk. If not 6, 2. I just spoke about Swadharma to you. One's own duty is Swadharma. You know Adharma. Anything which is against the prescribed, the prescribed rules is Adharma. These 2 you know, or you've forgotten. Okay. The 6 kinds of dharma, vidharma. Vidharma or dharma is irreligion. Doing something against the normal rules or normal or things which are outside the scope of faith. Paradharma is religious principles for which one is unfit. Paradharma means something which is not my dharma. Well, somebody else's. What is dharma? By the way, what is the meaning of dharma? I gave you all the meaning. In the last consecutive 2 classes, I've been telling you what dharma is. What is dharma? What is the meaning of dharma?
Duty.
Duty. Great. Excellent. The nature of one's character, the nature of being, the nature of who you are will kind of, dictate the duties that you can do, right? What is the nature of fire? What is the nature of fire? To give heat and light. Correct? Right?
Correct, Mataji, correct.
Yes, Mataji.
The nature of sugar is to
provide sweetness.
Sweet. So just remember this. I'm just giving you these simple examples so that you can always remember. Okay? So that is dharma. So vidharma means that which, for example, if sugar tastes salty, then it's not sugar, right? Then sugar is not doing its duty. If the sugarcane doesn't taste sugary, doesn't taste sweet, it tastes salty, then it is not the dharma. It's not the natural element that is present in the sugarcane. Paradharma means religious principle for which one is unfit. Upadharma means helping others materially. Chala dharma means cheating. So today many of us do chala dharma. Dharma abhas is pretentious religion, just trying to pretend as if you are in devotion. There are very many people, we have very many people who join a lot of groups and things like that. They pretend they're very devoted, they're highly devoted and that and this. But then the moment, they start speaking and they start acting, that's when you will realize, no. These are not people who really follow faith. These are not really people who are in devotion. These are not really people who really have that, of Krishna in their heart. So parodharma means eternal religion of the soul. What is the eternal religion of the soul? What is the eternal religion of the soul? What is the eternal state or eternal state of being of the soul? Which soul? Our Jivatma. What is the quality of our Jivatma?
Eternal.
It's eternal, and it is as, you know, as pure as the it is part and parcel of the Paramatma. It is as pure as a Paramatma. But because, you know, the Jivatma comes in contact with Prakriti, it allows itself to get conditioned, and all the conditioning that it acquires over the several cycles of births and deaths becomes its enemy, and it gets completely, what do you call it? It gets tainted. Okay, it loses that, you know, the flavor, it loses that purity that it actually has. So our souls are extremely pure, but because of the various conditioning that we go through, it gets contaminated. Okay, so here's another question.
Excuse me, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Can you please explain the last one, Parodharma? Actually, I haven't understood it properly.
Parodharma is the eternal religion of the soul. Parodharma is, what is the eternal religion of the soul? Purity. The eternal religion of the soul is purity, and it wants to kind of get liberated and finally, you know, get back to the Supreme Brahman. Soul is predominantly pure in nature because it's part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman or the Paramatma, and it is absolutely eager to get back to the Paramatma, the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because the Jivatma gets contaminated by our own desires, it gets conditioned so thoroughly that it gets entangled with all the material into this material platform, that it finds itself difficult to get itself completely cut off from the condition or the contamination that it has gone through, and it finds itself difficult and it actually chokes. So we have to help our soul to get back to its purity or to its original state, which it actually is. Got it?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. If you didn't get it, let me know. I'm happy to give you some examples. Okay. Now, is Manav Seva equal to Madhav Seva? Manav Seva is a seva of humanity. Is a humanitarian service. The God service to God.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, can you give me examples why it is so? And if somebody disagrees, please tell me why so.
Mataji, it is so because Manav Seva, like Manav, all the human beings, we all have souls. We are our souls is part and parcel of Paramatma. So if we are helping that Atma, all the human beings, then ultimately we are helping Paramatma.
Okay.
So that is why it is Madhav Seva.
Okay. Now, anyone else who thinks it's not so? Anybody who thinks not so? See, if this was a debate, you'll have for and against. Is someone against this? Someone thinks that Manav Seva is not equal to Madhav Seva. Anybody? See, what is humanitarian service? We have so many NGOs these days. Do all of them engage in humanitarian activities? Are they all really authentic? Do they really do what they're supposed to do? Do they really stand up to doing what they're supposed to do? They're doing Manav Seva. They're supposed to be in the business of humanitarian service. So therefore, is what they are doing equal to the service to Lord or service of the Lord? Think about it. Okay. Now the thing is, you can do humanitarian service, or you will have that kindness and compassion to humanity only if you have devotion in your heart, only when you are well within the rules of faith, well within the rules of dharma. If you are not well within the rules of dharma, any activity that you do will not have that kind of, effect. First of all, effectiveness, and as well as the efficiency also will not be there. The efficacy will not be. Because kindness and compassion, why is Arjuna what he is? Arjuna is what he is because he is spiritual in nature. Arjuna's, dilemma is all because of his excessive spirituality. Okay, but where should you exercise it and where should you not exercise it is what also Bhagavad Gita teaches us. But please note that while there are very many people doing very many kind of services for humanity, it will work only if they have that faith, if they have that devotion in their heart. If you do not have devotion in your heart, anything that you do will not be shreya, will not be shreshta. Now here is a story of Maharaja Nirega. Maharaja Nirega was the son of Ikshvaku. And he was a very nice king, extraordinarily great administrator, extraordinarily a great king. And, in those days, all the kings would do a lot of yagnas and a lot of, charity. So in one of the yagnas he gave away in charity cows, lands, and whoever didn't have house, he built houses for them. He also built a lot of roads for the people in his kingdom. And he also kind of helped people getting married. Whoever were finding it difficult to find partners, he helped them. He conducted, those mass scale swayamvaras, so that people could find their suitors. He did everything. But then while he was doing everything, he was excessively, he was so involved in the aham, that he was doing a lot for the people, and he was so excited about that. And every brahmana was supposed to get a cow. And it so happens, as any of these animals, they like to come back to the stable where they belong to. So one of the cows that he had given to the very many brahmanas who came to take charity from Nirega. See, those days the brahmanas would live off the alms and the kind of things that they would get from others, especially the kings and rich people and all that. They did not make money because they were predominantly people who were seekers of knowledge and also helped others in learning knowledge. So they were teachers, so they didn't get money as such. So therefore, these were the kind of occasions where they were given certain things so that they could also run their lives with their families. So all the brahmanas in the kingdom of Nirega were given a cow. So all the brahmanas queued up and they all took their cows. And what happened? One of the brahmana who took the cow returned back to the stable, and the Maharaja had not seen it, and he gave that cow away to another brahmana. So this brahmana comes and has picks up a fight with the brahmana who takes his cow, and as well as the king. He tells him, how can you just do this? You are a great king. You're supposed to be an administrator. You don't even have proper rules where to see whether you have good systems in place, and that you're really ensuring that you're doing what you want to do. Maharaja tried to convince him, I'm extremely sorry that for what happened. I'm ready to give you many number of people. I think he was ready to give them 10,000 crores, 10,000 or 1,000 cows or something. But both the brahmanas refused. They returned back. They left this cow also back, and they said, look, you're unfit. You're someone who didn't do your job well. This is just not expected of you. And they walked away without taking anything from the Maharaja. The Maharaja, after finishing, his lifetime, when he had to go, to the court of Yamaraja, so Yamaraja said, hey, you have been your service to the people has been outstanding, and you have done absolutely an impeccable service. But the only thing that remains as a mark in you is this discrepancy that happened, or this kind of a mismanagement that you did, where two people got dissatisfied with your act. And Nirega felt very, very sad. He said, look, so that means, is there something that I need? Do I need to do a prayashchita? So Yamaraja says, well, you'll have to do a prayashchita for this, but then if you so desire, you can go to the higher planets And whenever you feel like, you can definitely go and do the prayashchitta. But Naraga, immediately, he comes from the Raghu dynasty. His forefathers and all were, high achievers. And he was also a good king. The only thing was, he was too much into his ego was, very high. Always he was only thinking about how good he should be. He was thinking his forefathers were good, and therefore he also needs to be good. So for him, every time it was only about himself, how well he would do the work and how well he would serve the people and how well, people would appreciate. And he forgot all about his forefathers, who were all great worshippers of Mahavishnu. He remembers that, and he tells Yamaraj, he says, no, let me kind of do my prayashchitta. What is it that I have to do? So Yamaraj says, okay, you're a good soul. We will not put you back into something that where you'll have to, you have to again, work it out. Here is a thing, and we'll put you into a well. And when the Dwapara Yuga, this is how all this happened in the, the Treta Yuga, right? So in the Dwapara Yuga, when Krishna comes, he will come and liberate you. So Naraga said, that's much better for me. Let me go and do that. So he became a lizard, and he was living in a well. And one day, the Dwapara Yuga, Krishna's friends, they all had come to the jungle. This was in a jungle, somewhere in Dwaraka. They all went to play. And while playing, they felt thirsty. So they were looking out for a water body. So they chanced upon this well. And then they looked into the well. This was a dry well, and they were disappointed. But however, when they saw a queer animal, down below, they got very excited. And they try, and they're all, friends of Krishna. So being friends of Krishna, they would want to help, any entity that is in distress. So immediately they try to put a rope and try to, help this lizard out, but they're unable to do so. So they go back to Krishna and say, hey, Krishna, we saw this and we are feeling extremely bad for this creature which is there. I think the creature is very old and it's looking very tired. So can you please come and help? So immediately, and Krishna, it says, Krishna always listens to his devotees. Krishna loves his devotees. That's why Vaishnava aparadha is the biggest aparadha. So we should never, do anything against a Vaishnava, a devotee. Because devotees are someone who are very precious to the Lord. He loves them. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya chadushktam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuga yuga. Whenever the Lord comes to save all the pious people under devotees, right? So immediately Krishna comes. Krishna knows what's there. So Krishna comes. Krishna knows that he has to liberate this person. He comes, and then he tells the people, okay, here is a rope. Now you'll go far ahead and keep pulling the rope. I will help this creature out. Because the Krishna doesn't want to see what he's going to do for this lizard. So Krishna just extends his hand, the hand goes and touches the head of the lizard, and immediately the lizard comes back to its original form. He had a nice golden complexion. He was a highly exalted, or at least a very pious man. Only thing is, he just forgot. He was puffed up in his ego, and he forgot about. Otherwise he came from a family that was highly pious, and immediately he remembers all that went wrong, and he circumambulates the Lord. He kind of bows down to him, and he gets his liberation. So the moral of the story here is that for a small little, he was good. He did all his activities. But because of a small error of judgment, if Naraga went through a hell as this, you can imagine the kind of karma that we are accumulating, what can be in store for us. But however, remember, swalpam asya dharmasya trayato mahatopaha. We do not, I don't think there is any loss that we have faced so far. Even now, if any of us want to kind of, make sure that we get onto the path of goodness, that chance is available to us. And that's why it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, the Lord loves, the human entity, or the living entity of the human form, because the human form is the only form that has the intellect and has the ability to kind of make a choice between the lower energy and the higher energy. The lower energy is the negative energy, or the mode of ignorance, and the mode of goodness, which will help us to kind of elevate ourselves to the spiritual path. Okay, what is the proper understanding of renunciation? Can someone read the translation? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, please read, Prabhuji.
When persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete.
Yeah. So that's why the Lord says karma sannyasa is quite dangerous, because if there are remnants or ingredients of the material desires that are left in a person, then this person is not likely to be kind of completely get himself out of the entanglements that he has in his head, and therefore that kind of renunciation will be incomplete, and the person will invariably fall down again. Okay, so now the Lord says karma yoga or karma sannyasa. Okay, so one who neither hates. So who is a karma yoga? Is it karma yoga or karma sannyasa? Which is one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activity, is known to be always renounced. So which means what he's saying is he's encouraging karma yoga. He says karma yogi is one who does his duties, but he does it without any attachment. Okay, and he does it without kind of, when he has no attachment, there's no dvesha and there's no kama. There's no kama, there's no dvesha. Kama is desires, dvesha is hate. Such a person, liberated from all dualities, easily overcomes the material bondage and is completely renounced, O mighty Arjuna. Okay. Okay. Somebody wants to read this translation? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Unless one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, mere renunciation of activities cannot make one happy. The sages, purified by works of devotion, achieve the supreme without delay.
Yes. Hare Krishna. So, sannyasastu mahabaho dukkham aptum ayogatah yoga yukta munir brahma cha chirenadi gacchati. So, devotional service is the only thing, because it's a kind of a contract. You have a contract with God. For instance, your parents, they send you with good faith to college and school and things like that. So they don't come and oversee you. They're not always there with you. So, but what do? Because of your love for them, because of the promises you make to them, saying that you are going to the college for studying, and you've promised, and you're kind of, you don't want to let them down. You don't want to let go. You don't want to disappoint them of the promise that you gave them. So it's a kind of a contract. The contract binds you. Yeah, the contract binds you to kind of, do your duty well. Therefore, devotion is a contract. Is a contract with whom? Contract with none other than the Paramatma, who's permanently present with you, along with your soul in your heart. So when the devotion is there, or when the devotion is something that kind of, that you follow religiously, it helps you to kind of never swerve away from the path of that which is good. Your mind, even if your mind gets distracted, it will easily come back to its normal state. So devotion helps us to kind of be on our path, on the right path rather, or on the path that we choose, which we think is right. Right? What we think is right, when we do it with devotion, it will never be wrong. But if there's no devotion and you kind of, just do what you like, there is bound to be something that will happen which will kind of make you fall. And that fall, you will never be able to know why you fell, because that kind of self-introspection, self-inquiry works only when you are well within the framework of things that are right, things that are actually within the dharmic or within the religious framework. Okay. Yoga yukto vishudatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvana pinalipyate. What does it mean? One who works in devotion, one who's a pure soul, and one who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. So obviously, one who is well balanced, without any desires and without any hate, will always be a balanced person. He'll always be, equipoised. He'll always be someone that will never be, on a high or a low, or rather will never get excited with a high, or never be, or will be, will be morose with the distress. He will be calm in all situations. Because he's calm in a situation, he finds everything around him also in that calm composure. And seeing him in the calm composure, everyone else also, loves this person. These are those kind of people who are all those, they are the go-to people. Whether you're living in a society, there are some people you feel, yeah, that this person is trustworthy. I would like to go and discuss something with this person. Similarly, in college and school or in your workplace, you will always have those go-to people who are always nice, who will always guide you, or who always will tell you, they give their opinion. If at all, if they had to be in a situation of like yours, how would they deal with it? So a person in devotion always is someone who is well balanced, who's a pure soul, means is always in the mode of goodness. He never gets excited with anything, and neither does he get distressed with something that doesn't go for him. Okay, so he's endearing to all. At the same time, everyone finds him very endearing as well. Can someone read this translation? It's a beautiful one.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, please read, Prabhuji.
One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme God, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water.
Yeah. So, Brahmani adhyaya karmani sangam tyaktva karotyah lipyate na sach papena padma patram ivam bhasha. Can somebody tell me, we are giving an example of the lotus leaf. Why is the lotus leaf so important? What is the characteristic of the lotus leaf? What is that attribute of lotus leaf which Lord is bringing about here? Do you know where the lotus grows? Where does the lotus grow?
In the pond, Mataji.
In the pond. What kind of pond? What kind of pond? It grows
muddy waters.
Yeah, muddy waters. It grows in slush. It grows in muddy waters. But the lotus is so beautiful. The lotus flowers used for a lot of pious, and auspicious festivities. It is a favorite flower that we use for Mahavishnu and for a lot of other festivals that we celebrate in our homes. And the lotus leaf is of particular significance. Though it remains in muddy water, it never retains the water on itself. It never allows the water to contaminate the leaf. So therefore, the Lord is saying we need to be like the lotus leaf and never get contaminated. Very many times we blame a lot of things around us. We said, oh, I couldn't study because of XYZ reason. Oh, I did this because so many other people around me were doing this. We try to pass the buck. We try to pass the blame on somebody else. Okay. So what the Lord is saying is the situation is not going to be equal for all. So irrespective of what the situation is, you need to be like the lotus leaf, free of getting yourself contaminated. You should not allow yourself getting contaminated. You should ensure that you are staying clear of all the dirt and contaminations that are around you. So one should always remember this example. It's a very easy example. Whenever you're finding something which is very difficult, think of the lotus leaf. When you're finding in a situation, where probably, you're going in for a party and there's too much of, there's too much of activity happening around the place, allow yourself not to get affected by them and don't indulge in it. Try and remember this example. It's a very easy example. We should always, probably you can have a proper, maybe a little picture of the lotus leaf and the lotus on your work desk. And that'll always be a reminder to you that you need to kind of be like the lotus leaf. So living in this world, how can one do his duty unattached? We are in a world that is full of distraction. So how can we do our duty and remain unattached? Can you give me some examples from your own lives? Anybody? Can you give me an example of a situation that you were in and how you kind of did not allow yourself getting bogged down by it or getting affected by it or getting to doing it or getting to, getting engaged in it? Anybody?
Having your own limits. Don't
try to don't try any other one to break it.
Exactly. So draw your limits. Exactly. Draw the line, put the stick on the ground and say, this is my limit. Have a Lakshman. Each one of us need to have a Lakshman Rekha. Okay. So the yogi is abandoning the attachment, act with body, mind, and intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. A pure yogi, a pure soul, does all kinds of activities, but abandons attachment. And how does he abandon the attachment? How does he kind of ensure that he doesn't get that he doesn't allow his desires to just flow out? He acts with his body, the mind, and intelligence, and the senses, only for the purpose of his devotional service and nothing else. Okay, see, devotional service really helps you to kind of make sure that you have that intellect built in you to kind of reject things that are going to harm you. Okay, so that is Prabhupada. Yukta karma phalam tyaktva shantim apnoti naishtikam ayukta kama karena phale shakto nibadhyate. Can someone read this translation?
The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activity to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of labor, becomes entangled.
Yeah, so this is someone who's a yoga yukta. A yoga yukta is someone who is someone who does not, is greedy, who is, that envy and doubt does not exist in such people, and they do not desire the fruits of their labor, and they're constantly doing their work because their higher purpose is union with the Lord. Sarva karmani manasa pure dehi naiva kurvana karayan, which means the living, the soul is well contained within the 9 gates. What are the 9 gates in our body? The 2 eyes, the 2 nostrils, the 2 ears, and the genitals. Okay, the mouth and the genitals. These are the 9 gates. So it's like the soul is contained in a fort. The soul is covered by a fort with 9 gates. Okay, so the Bhagavan is describing, how the soul is being protected in the body. The body has 9 gates. So the 9 gates, all of them are always, craving for something or the other. As long as you keep these 9 gates in control, the soul will be happy. But the moment you let the 9 gates go in their own direction, the soul is getting contaminated. The contamination of the soul happens by the 3 modes of nature. And how do they happen? It is through these 9 gates. If these 9 gates are kept in check, if these 9 gates are always, kept in a condition that it does not let contamination to enter it, then the soul will be kept in satisfaction, completely satisfied, and the soul will be content. If the 9 gates are neglected, the soul is, you can be rest assured that the soul, you're kind of completely, ensuring that you're eroding the quality of the soul. Okay.
Mataji.
Yeah.
Can you please repeat the 9 gates? What are
the 9 gates? Are you have the 2 eyes, the 2 nostrils, the 2 ears. You have 6, right? Mouth.
Yes, right, Mataji.
And then the 2 genitals.
Okay.
The genital and the the reproductive system and the evacuation. Okay. Okay. So when one's intelligence, mind, and faith and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes cleansed or fully cleansed of misgivings through the complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So when your mind and see again, this is back to Siddha Prajna. When your mind, intelligence, and when your intelligence, mind, and all your sense organs are fixed in the faith and fixed in the Supreme Lord, then you become purely cleansed, or rather you will not allow any kind of dirt affecting you. So this is again a beautiful shloka. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane ga vihastini sunicha. The humble sage. Who is a sage? The sage is one who's completely pure soul, who does not let his mind, intelligence, and faith getting disturbed. And such a person is a pure soul. And how does the pure soul reflect in his actions? He, by virtue of the knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog. In all of them, he does not see the bodily features of any of the things that he sees. He sees the Paramatma in each of them. Can you see that? There's a Paramatma in each of them, the dog, the cow, the elephant. He sees Paramatma in all of them. Gavi Hastini, Gavi is the cow, Hastini is the elephant. Shuri Chaiva Shopakecha is the dog and the dog eater. The dog and the dog eater means one who is who eats other jivas. Okay. So how can a person see with equal vision towards all living entities? By being a pandita, by being a pure yogi, by being a pure soul. Okay. Okay. Such a liberated person is never attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So this is the story of Haridas Thakur. He was one of the exalted disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was born in a Muslim family, and he's also called the Namacharya because he's also credited with the Harinama Sankirtana Yagna that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought to this world. And it seems he used to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 300 times, 3 lakh times during the day. So you can imagine he was only spending his time always thinking of the Lord. So the people in the, the Maharaja of that place, who was a Muslim, this boy was also a Muslim, but he got converted. He was, he not converted, he became a Hindu, or rather he became a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Sorry, I used the word Hindu, not Hindu. He became a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Mr. Maharaja was very unhappy. So he sent a beautiful girl to distract his penance or distract his activity. So this lady would go and stand before him, fully well dressed before him, right from the morning to the evening to distract him. And she went and told him, and he was a complete, a devotee of the Lord, and anyone who comes to them, they never ignore them. So he asked her, what are you here for? So she said, no, I want to spend time with you. You have to give me some quality time. He said, sure, I'll give you quality time. Now, look, I have to finish my chanting my mantras, and then I will definitely spend time with you. And this way it would go on. She would come in the morning, right from morning to the evening, he would go on chanting, because 3 lakh times is what he used to chant the Maha Mantra. And then he used to live off whatever rotis or food that people would passers by would give him. He would live off that. He would eat that. So this lady spent several days, and finally it so happened, looking at him, she also started chanting the Maha Mantra. And then the Maharaja got angry. He said, what are you doing? I sent you for a different purpose to distract him, and here you are, you also. She said, look, whatever you said is completely useless. I have got so enamored and so enchanted, in this devotional service. I don't think I really would want to help you out in distracting this man. He's such a holy spirit. So looking at somebody like him, she got transformed. So bhakti is such. Bhakti is contagious. So remember, devotion is contagious. Faith is contagious. Whenever we follow faith, whenever we do our devotional service, be rest assured that it will have a lot of effect, just like the way when you throw a stone in water, it has a dominoes effect. Anything which is good spreads fast. You may ask, a bad thing spreads fast. Yes, goodness also can equally spread fast. So it's up to us, to kind of spread goodness and stop the evil from contaminating ourselves, and as well as contaminating the rest of the society and the country. So what is the need of giving up the sensual pleasure? One line answer. Hare Krishna. Sensual pleasure means pleasure for the body. So what is the need for giving up of this sensual pleasure? To stay clear of any kind of entanglements and any kind of things that will make us step down from the path of goodness to doing evil deeds. Okay. Okay, do you want to take a try? I know we are crossing time. There are different types of sensual pleasures that we always get caught under. What are the various sensual pleasures that you have come across that kind of, kind of sways you? Hare Krishna. Anybody?
Attachment with friends.
Okay, no, friends are still okay. As long as you discuss good things, it's okay. But what are the other sensual pleasures? Sensual pleasures which can really, with friends is good, but doing what with friends? That is important. Sensual pleasures like, things like, falling in for flings, all those kind of things that we hear these days, one night stands, all those are sensual pleasures. Intoxication, there are various forms of intoxicant, that is a sensual pleasure. What you see, watch good movies, hear good music. All of you should kind of, try and cultivate a habit, cultivate a good habit, cultivate habits of music, cultivate habits to kind of, do something, anything which is useful, maybe some art, some, trying to get into, some kind of, what do you call it? Any fine arts, painting, reading, writing, do anything, but ensure that you are able to divert your energies to things that will help you to rise up. Okay. Then if you get into something like, for example, music, when I say music, don't get into all this Bollywood, Hollywood, that. Try and get into some of our rich cultural heritage that we have in terms of, classical music. Any form of classical music. Learn some instruments. There are so many instruments. India has, our country has so many variety of musical instruments. Try and see if any of that interests you. If that interests you, you can use it in devotional service. You can use it for kirtans. You can use it for bhajans. If you're good at painting, go try your hand at that. You can draw lovely pictures. All the pictures that you see in ISKCON are all drawn by devotees. So you can engage your, your mind and your talent doing all of that. Or if you're someone who's interested in cooking, engage in good, nice sattvic cooking, which can be used as nice prasadam for the Lord. All these things will keep you away from all these things which are likely to kind of make you feel guilty about yourself. Because if the moment guilt enters you, that's where you despair. That's how, stress comes in. So ensure that you're not allowing guilt to kind of cover you up. You want to be guilt-free. So to be guilt-free, you need to divert your energy. See, our bodies have so much of energy. So you need to find diversions for that energy. Create avenues for that energy to be used well. Okay. 5.22. Somebody wants to read this translation? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah.
An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I hope you understood what the translation is. It means a person who has his mind, intellect, and his sense organs in control will never fall prey to anything which is temporary. Now here the examples are, there is a bumblebee. Can you see a bumblebee flying towards the lotus? It goes to suck the nectar. It's like to suck the nectar from the flower. That's what these bumblebees do. But it doesn't know, it gets so immersed in tasting the nectar that it forgets, because the lotus, the inherent feature of the lotus is it closes, the petals close by the end of the day. When the sun sets, it automatically closes. So what happens? The bumblebee, with complete desire to kind of keep enjoying the nectar, is so immersed in that, it forgets that it has to fly off before the lotus leaf closes the petals down. Okay, so it finally finds its end. Similarly, those are the moth flies. The moth flies you'd find, whenever, when there's a rain, when the land is parched, there's a lot of moth flies come in the house. It is just, they go towards the light without knowing that the light will burn, because they're so frail and light, they burn up. And similarly, the musk deer, the deer in general, I believe it likes, it has a thing for sound, even slight music especially. So wherever it's music, it goes hunting for the music, and that's how the hunters trap the deer. And the fish, how does the fish fall into the net? The fisherman puts a bait, he puts a smaller fish, attracts it, and the bigger fish goes for it. So sensual pleasures are temporary, attractive in the beginning, but later on it gives you misery. And a person who is wise will never fall for it. Okay. So these are the various kinds of sensual pleasures. Sensual pleasures can be bodily sensual pleasures. They can be pleasures for wealth. And when it's pleasure for wealth, it leads to cheating. It leads to, you indulge in practices like, killing your own kith and kin or looting. Okay. But whereas that which is truly gives you pleasure, that which will help you to kind of keeping you in a steady state is devotional service. Okay. Devotional service is also a sensual pleasure. The only difference between devotional service and other kinds of pleasure is devotional service is on the spiritual platform. All other things on the material platform. Devotional service is something that is permanent. It has permanent results. Any other thing on the material platform is impermanent and it leads you to a miserable condition. Okay. Somebody wants to read this translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is a yogi and is happy in this world.
Yeah. So again, there is a further definition of the yogi. The yogi is one who is able to tolerate urges of material senses and keep the check on desire, kama and krodha. The moment you keep a check on kama and krodha, you will be a samadarshana pandita. You will be absolutely someone who will look at every living entity as an atma. You will be endearing to all and everybody will be dear to you. Okay. So one whose happiness is within. See, we often often try to find happiness outside. Whereas what does this verse say? One whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within, and is illumined within is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Happiness is within you. We have to find our own happiness. Do not seek happiness in material things that actually, take you to a miserable state from which you can't redeem yourself. So therefore, happiness is with you. Try and ensure the 9 gates are taken care of. The dams, we keep the dams in check. We all, you have heard of the dams, right? The dams kind of preserve water for use during non-rainy seasons, right? Or during seasons where we need to give water to people. What do? Do we keep the doors of the dam open all the time? No, the dams are kept in check by having doors that it kind of ensures that the water is contained. So similarly, we are also like a dam with 9 gates. We must ensure that we keep these 9 gates in check. That when we do that, when we keep it in check, and we also, follow devotion, and we also have faith in devotion, and we continuously read these scriptures, you will find happiness within you. There is nothing else that you will need, because happiness is within you. Happiness is not outside you. You have to find your own happiness. Don't expect the happiness to come from outside. Anything that comes from outside is impermanent. Okay, it's temporary. So what is the peace formula? What is the peace formula?
From inside.
Don't attach too much and always be happy find happiness within yourself.
Exactly. And why is it so? The last verse will tell you. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhurdam sarvabhutana nyatva mam shanchim rachati. This is the last verse. Somebody wants to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, read.
The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wishers of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries.
Thank you, Mataji. So what is the reason that we need to ensure that we find happiness within ourselves? Because we are part and parcel of that Paramatma. We are that eternal soul. And we need to, our ultimate aim is to kind of go back to the Godhead. We need to seek a refuge under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because He is the creator, He is the controller. So He is the beneficiary of all the austerities and all the sacrifices that we do. When you do good for yourself, you're actually the beneficiary. The beneficiary is the Lord, because the Atma is as pure as the Lord. The Lord wants us to come back to Him absolutely clean. If you're unclean, you cannot reach Him, because the Atma is a pure Atma. We need to ensure that we protect it from all kinds of impurities, because the benefits of that is reaching the Paramatma. And who is the Paramatma? The Paramatma is the one who gives us everything. We read in the previous chapter that everything that we have is a gift of the Lord, and therefore if that is a gift of the Lord, whatever we do is also goes back to the Lord. Therefore the benefactor or the recipient of everything that we do is the Lord, and he's not only the benefactor, he not only is the recipient of all that we do, but he's also the one who gives us everything. He's a beneficiary, he receives whatever we do, and he's also the benefactor who gives us things. Okay. Is it okay? He is the Bhoktaram Yagna Tapsam, Sarvaloka Maheshwar. Everybody in the cosmos. He is the benefactor of everybody in the cosmos, all the planets, all the demigods, all the living entities. And he is also the beneficiary of the good things that we do. He is not responsible for the bad thing. The bad things, you do it for yourself and you add up to your karma. But if you want to be pure and want to get back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or you want to get back to the Supreme Lord's abode, we need to ensure that we are Yoga Yukta. Okay? We remain a yogi. And what kind of a yogi? A yogi doing the prescribed duty as per your dharma, without attachment, without expectations. Okay? And remaining calm in all situations, without any karma, without any desires, and without hate. Because desire has its own ill effects. Hate, any form of dvesha, hate is also equally bad. When you hate something, that means that you are having something in your mind that will again create a connect with things, and that is also an entanglement. Both attachment and hate are the two enemies that actually causes entanglements or bondage, or creates, it kind of leads us into this prison, which is the material world. The material world is a prison, and we are all prisoners. Our ultimate aim is to kind of, ensure that we do good deeds so that we can find our ways out from this prison, which is the material world. Okay? Hare Krishna. So that was a thing. So the chapter summary is Sannyasa Yoga or Karma Yoga. So the Lord clearly says it's Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is better than Sannyasa Yoga. And even within the Karma Yoga, it should be Nishkama Karma, which is the only thing that can free us from bondage. And that is the one which will help us to get liberation by keeping our focus on the Supreme. The karma, doing our yoga, doing our work and having devotion and faith on the Lord is what will help us to kind of keep our focus on the Lord and ultimately lead to liberation. Okay, so that was the chapter summary, and I come to an end. I'm sorry I overshot my time as always. So anybody, any questions? Hare Krishna. Any questions, anybody? No questions for the day? Everybody's clear with everything?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, good
Yes,
then.
Mataji.
Vacha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Bol, everyone. We'll meet tomorrow. Tomorrow's chapter is the 6th chapter. It's called Dhyana Yoga. So that's a chapter where we will see a lot about all the Ashtanga Yoga, the processes of Ashtanga Yoga. and how it is done and how it is performed, and then we'll compare it with Karma Yoga. Okay?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.